I never thought I'd be in this position, having to protect my children from my own sister. Growing up, Rachel and I were close, despite our 5-year age gap. She was always the more outgoing one, popular and charming, while I was quieter and more reserved. I looked up to her. She protected me from bullies in school, helped me with homework, and was my confidant during my awkward teenage years. If you had told me then that one day I would refuse to let her meet my children, I would have laughed in disbelief. Everything changed 6 years ago. Rachel called me sobbing one night, saying she had just received devastating news from her doctor. Stage 3 ovarian cancer, she said. The prognosis was uncertain. She would need aggressive treatment. I was devastated and immediately rallied to support her. I lived 3 states away at the time with my husband, but I took emergency leave from work and flew home the next day. What followed was 2 years of what I now know was an elaborate performance. Rachel shaved her head, she lost weight, she applied makeup to look gaunt and sickly, she scheduled appointments and took detailed notes about fictional treatments, she joined cancer support groups and befriended actual cancer patients, learning their language and experiences to make her own lies more convincing. She created a blog documenting her cancer journey that gained thousands of followers. She even had a GoFundMe that raised over $25,000. Our entire family restructured our lives around Rachel's illness. Our parents, both in their 60s and planning retirement, instead drained their savings to help with what Rachel claimed were experimental treatments not covered by insurance. I took extended leave from work to help care for her during particularly rough periods after chemo. My husband and I postponed starting a family and having children because I was so consumed with Rachel's care. Friends and extended family sent money, meals, care packages, and constant support. The truth came out purely by accident. A new oncologist joined the practice where Rachel claimed to be receiving treatment. This doctor happened to be married to one of my college friends, who knew all about my sister's cancer battle through me. During a dinner with this friend, she mentioned that her husband had checked the records and could find no patient matching Rachel's name or description. At first, I was furious at what I perceived as a violation of medical privacy, but something about this information nagged at me. Small inconsistencies in Rachel's story that I had dismissed came flooding back. I started investigating quietly. I contacted the hospital billing department, pretending to need copies of Rachel's records for insurance purposes. Nothing. I spoke with a nurse from the oncology department who had supposedly been Rachel's favorite. The nurse had never heard of her. I even followed Rachel to a supposed chemotherapy appointment and watched her spend 3 hours at a spa instead. When confronted with all this evidence, Rachel initially denied everything, accusing me of betraying her. But as I laid out each piece of irrefutable proof, her story crumbled. Finally, she broke down and admitted everything. She had never had cancer, not even a cancer scare. It was all fabricated from the beginning. Her reasons were as disturbing as the deception itself. She had been deeply in debt from shopping addiction and gambling. She had lost her job but was too ashamed to tell anyone. The cancer started as a small lie to explain her weight loss from stress and her inability to maintain her previous lifestyle. Then it snowballed. The attention, sympathy, and financial support became addictive to her. Before she knew it, she was in too deep to come clean. I was utterly shattered. Our parents were devastated, both emotionally and financially. Friends who had supported her felt violated and used, and the cancer community she had infiltrated was disgusted that she had appropriated their very real suffering. Rachel faced some legal consequences, mainly related to the fundraising fraud, but avoided jail time by agreeing to repay the money and complete community service and mandatory therapy. She lost most of her friends. She had to move to a different city where people didn't know her story. I cut her off completely. The betrayal was too deep, the manipulation too calculated. This wasn't a momentary lapse in judgment. It was years of sustained deception that hurt countless people, including those truly suffering from cancer. Fast forward 4 years. I now have twin boys, age 3, and am pregnant with my 3rd child. Rachel has been reaching out consistently for the past year, saying therapy has helped her understand her actions. She claims to be genuinely remorseful and working to make amends. She has repaid about half of what she took from our parents and is on a payment plan for the rest. She's held a steady job for 3 years now, and she desperately wants to meet her nephews and be part of their lives. Our parents, who have cautiously reconciled with Rachel, think I'm being unreasonable. She made terrible mistakes, but she's still your sister, my mother says. Your boys deserve to know their aunt. My father, who was perhaps hurt most deeply by Rachel's deception, adds, if we can find a way to forgive her and move forward, why can't you? But I can't shake my deep distrust. What Rachel did wasn't a simple mistake. It was years of manipulative lies that hurt vulnerable people. She watched our parents struggle financially while knowing it was all based on a lie. She accepted care and support from me that delayed my own life goals, all while knowing she was perfectly healthy. She took resources and emotional support from actual cancer patients. She showed a capacity for deception that I find terrifying. What kind of influence would she be on my impressionable children? What if she decided to lie to them for attention or sympathy? What if she used them somehow? I don't trust her moral compass, and I don't want my children exposed to someone capable of such elaborate manipulation, regardless of what therapy she's undergone. Rachel has become increasingly desperate in her attempts to meet my boys. She sends gifts for every birthday and holiday which I donate to charity. She's written heartfelt letters apologizing and promising she's changed. Recently, she showed up unannounced at our home, having traveled 6 hours by train, saying she just wanted to see them, even from a distance. I refused to let her in, which led to a painful scene on our front porch with her crying and begging while I stood firm. My husband supports whatever decision I make, but has gently suggested that perhaps supervised visits in a public place might be a reasonable compromise. People can change, he says, and family is important. Some friends think I should at least consider giving Rachel a second chance, pointing out that maintaining this level of anger for years might not be healthy for me either. The pressure from family is becoming intense. My parents mention Rachel constantly, showing the boys pictures of her and telling them about their Auntie Rachel, who lives far away but loves them very much. They've started suggesting that I'm being cruel not just to Rachel, but to my children by depriving them of an extended family relationship. I've tried to explain that this isn't about punishment or holding a grudge. It's about protecting my children from someone who has demonstrated a profound capacity for harmful deception. But they see it as me being unforgiving and bitter. My mother recently said something that's been haunting me. What lesson are you teaching your boys about forgiveness and redemption by refusing to even consider letting their aunt into their lives? That comment has made me question myself. Am I holding onto anger rather than making a rational parenting decision? Am I depriving my children of a potentially valuable relationship with their aunt? Or am I rightfully protecting them from someone who has proven herself capable of extraordinary deception? After all, if Rachel could maintain such an elaborate lie for years, hurting those closest to her without apparent remorse until caught, how can I ever fully trust her again, especially around my vulnerable children? So, am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sister, who faked cancer, meet my children, despite her claims of rehabilitation?